I ignored flamboyance. I couldn't spend all my time devoted to contradicting what the media wrote. Yeah, and now,
But, okay.
let me also tell you, I referred to earlier, I said, this whole theme of flamboyance, the media, if you see the pattern of their reportage on me, okay, I mean, and they kept on writing things which really, I thought these guys don't have anything better to do. Vijay Mallya ne ऐसे party किया. Vijay Mallya is hosting a New Year's party at Kingfisher Villa. Vijay Mallya is doing this, that, and other things. Okay, bottom line is, they created a narrative of a personality that helped them to sell their own media. One day there was a terribly wrong, factually incorrect article in one of the large newspapers in India. So I called the owner. I said, how could you possibly publish something like this without checking the facts?
क्या था?
Vijay, sorry yaar, your name sells. So they created this animal called Vijay Mallya, whose name started selling, so they could, get more eyeballs, more readership, more viewership. But be that as it may, I lived my life. What was my objectives? I am not apologizing if I lived, because I didn't spend anybody else's money except my own. I didn't borrow 1 rupee from anybody. Okay? I was much maligned, much complimented, but effectively I was my own brand ambassador. Take the case of one much talked about phrase, king of good times.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy to walk around with a label on my chest saying king of good times. Read, and this is where somebody must make the effort. See the label of the Kingfisher beer that was developed. It says the king of good times. The personality of Kingfisher beer was the king of good times. Ulta media started calling me the king of good times. So tell me being the king of good times will not help sell the beer.
But it did.
Because the beer itself was the genuine king of good times. And the personality that I gave Kingfisher, promoting sport, promoting fashion, promoting music, sponsoring motor racing. So all the stuff that's exciting to youngsters, that represented the personality of the Kingfisher brand. That's why Kingfisher was such a success.
But talk to me about building of Kingfisher. Don't you think it was at least that's what I think. It was a very well curated strategy that I will become a brand which represents Kingfisher.
No, I was brand ambassador. And I have done it not only for Kingfisher, but take the case of our spirits business. I actually came on national television with an ad encouraging people not to drink and drive. I did it myself. I didn't get some film star to do it. I did it myself.
So becoming a personal brand was a strategy then?
Of course it was.
So then why does it bother you that you were
Doesn't bother
act
me.
as like the king
Never
of good
bothered
times?
Me. But that's what I'm saying. But I am not the person who labeled myself as king of good times. It so happened that the media started calling me the king of good times. Fine.
Because subtly you curated this, no?
I didn't curate king of good times. In what way?
By actually promoting a lifestyle which every young person would aspire to.
Why not? Young people are entitled to aspirations. Young people are entitled to improve lifestyles. Young people are entitled to treat themselves. But that doesn't mean I went around the whole world saying, well, you know what? I'm the king of good times. No way. Never said it even once.
But you knew it will happen.
No, I didn't. How should I care? I achieved my objective of making Kingfisher the number one selling beer. That's it.
How did that happen?
So what happened along the way is irrelevant.
Okay, how did this happen?
What?
Kingfisher beer, how did it become number one?
Well,
Tell me story of Kingfisher.
When I took over this business, Golden Eagle or Mohan Meekan Breweries was the largest beer company in India. Today, United Breweries Limited controls almost 52% of the beer market in India. Kingfisher is not very many product categories that can lay claim to 52% national market share. But yeah, Kingfisher is by far the number one selling brand. That's because, yes, I curated a personality around Kingfisher, around fun, around excitement, around vibrancy, color. I created the brand and I achieved my objective. You take the case of McDowell number one. I mean, once again, this whole golden moments, McDowell moments, right? It was a little more sober than the Kingfisher ads because the target demographic was different. But it's the largest selling whiskey in the world today. McDowell number one. Right? All these brands I created.
Tell me one turning point which just made everything good for you in Kingfisher beer specifically.
It's a sustained effort.
But when was the first time you thought, okay, now it will work? Because
it was always working. From
day one.
Yeah, when I relaunched in new packaging, right, make it more appealing on the shelf, started sponsoring music, fashion events, got more brand attention, automatically the sales started picking up. And then, as we went along, promoting our marketing strategy, which was clearly effective, the sales followed.
Nobody told me that walking would make me better at my job, but thanks to WhisperFlow, here we are. I learned that ChatGPT works.
Same thing with McDowell number one whiskey. Nothing's overnight. National brands are not built overnight.
There wasn't one moment that you could pinpoint, or was it?
How can you? How can you pinpoint a moment? Because it isn't like switching on and off a light switch.
Why did you get conviction that Kingfisher beer will work? Because it was a little expensive than other ones.
We had brands such as UB Royal, Flying Horse, we had Jubilee. Now you tell me, even though they were my brands, does any one of these evoke any excitement in you? No. But if I say to you Kingfisher, you take notice, right? So that's the platform I built on. All right. Similarly, as I said, you take the case of McDowell number one, right? It was targeted at a slightly higher demographic, but it went along with more sophisticated merchandising and stuff like that, which augured well for the brand. And today, as the Indian economy has grown, as consumer spending power has gone up, it's the world's biggest brand. Selling about 32 million cases per year.
What was the biggest challenge in building of Kingfisher beer and McDowell's?
I think,
or everything was just painted red and it worked out for you?
No, there was nothing red about McDowell. It was all black and gold. The only one around that's red is Kingfisher. No, I think more than challenges, I look at opportunities. 2005, I bought Shawwalis, my biggest competitor. That propelled the spirits business I mean, to number one position by far. Brought on board banks like Royal Challenge and all the rest of it. So, I mean, those were pretty bold business decisions, which once again, self-confidence. I had to pay $300 million for the company. Big amount of money. But made it work. That's how United Spirits was created. Today, with a market cap of almost 1 lakh crores. So, I mean, if you have the confidence to do it, you go do it.
You said you bought Bojo paints at the same time. Talk about that. Why paints all of a sudden? You were making money with alcohol. You were minting profits out of alcohol. You were convinced that brands like Kingfisher and then at one point other brands as well would work out really well, which it did. Why buying a paint business? Like, this is so
the paint
bizarre.
Business, British Paints in India, okay, which is now called Berger Paints, was part of the Hex Group. My father was chairman of British Paints India.
Okay.
When he passed away, I became chairman of British Paints India. During my tenure as chairman of British Paints India, I learned something about the paint business. Right. Now,
What did you learn about paint business?
go back in time what I told you. When I was sent to America, then to England, I worked as a foreman in the Berger Paints Jensen Nicholson paint factory here in this country. So I not only knew about making paint, but also how a paint business was run, because I was chairman of Berger Paints. So when Hex Group decided to sell their global Berger Paints, headquartered in England, operating in the Caribbean, operating in Africa, in Asia, true multinational company. I went to them and put together a loan package with those days the Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation, and bought it because I had this aspiration of creating India's first multinational. That was back, as I said, 1988. Okay, so from being an Indian-centric business, I was operating in 25 countries worldwide, flying the Indian flag.
So your objective is only that I want to take India or Indian business to the world?
No, absolutely not. I was very focused on making a hefty profit out of it too. All right, which I successfully did. So I bought it in a leveraged buyout. And after that, I did IPOs. I did IPOs in Jamaica. I did IPOs on the Kenyan Stock Exchange. I did an IPO on the Singapore Stock Exchange and diluted our shareholding to 51%, but used the proceeds of the IPO to pay down the debt. Right? And then finally in 1996, I sold the entire business that was then listed on the Singapore Stock Exchange, and I made a fat profit. And I still remember, and I have no hesitation in saying this, that I went to my mom and I said, you see this piece of paper? This is what I earned. This is not inherited. I made it myself. So when I spend it, don't complain. No, I mean, that's on a lighter vein. But yeah, I mean, I that was when, as a non-resident Indian, I made my first serious piece of money out of entirely my own initiative in a paints environment. But hey, that's what it's all about. I mean, I got experience of doing IPOs in 3 different countries across the globe, That was invaluable experience.
Do you regret selling it? Because today Berger is, I think, 70,000 crore big business.
That's only one Berger in India. I owned the global Berger all over the world, including India. I sold Berger paints in India to the Dingras.
So do you regret selling
Did a great
it?
job with it. No, God bless them. They did a super job with it.
But if it was doing so good, why did you sell it then?
Well, it was bought by the Malaysians, okay, and they came with an offer I couldn't refuse. I mean,
Okay.
they offered me some 2.5 times the quoted share price.
Okay. You
2.5 times the quoted share price.
Okay. You mentioned that you told your mother that I made this profit.
Yeah.
Now don't complain when I spend it.
Correct.
Tell me your relationship with your mother.
My
was
mom brought me up. I used to live with her in Calcutta alone since 64, 65. And yeah, so she's stood by me like a rock. She's a very well-educated lady. And yeah, I mean, she's been living in England now for 30 plus years. But yeah, I wanted to buy a yacht. I wanted to buy a plane and stuff like that. And so I wanted to make sure I set the record straight. I told my mom, I earned this money. So if I spend it buying a yacht and spend it buying a plane, don't complain.
Did she complain? No.
Never.
But why
She
did you
enjoyed
say
the
that
plane,
then?
She enjoyed the yacht. What?
Okay. Why did you say this to her then? Was she like frugal? She would ask you not to spend.
No, it isn't that. I mean, it's natural for a parent. You know, if you see something that's quite extraordinary, quite expensive, lavish, call it what you may. It's normal, extraordinary, quite expensive, lavish, call it what you may. It's normal parental reaction to ask the child, why are you spending money or whatever. So, I mean, I'm just telling you, I made a joke out of it, but I was very proud that was money I earned. It wasn't money I inherited.
Tell me one lesson you learned from your mom.
Oh, I've learned many lessons from my mom. Don't waste time in life arguing. It's not worth it. Use your time productively. Think positively. Don't keep arguing with people unless it's a matter that's going to get you somewhere. And which argument gets you anywhere?
And what did you learn from your father? Give me one lesson. Something that you can't forget.
Hard work and an ability to read a balance sheet, company balance sheet.
He was really good at it, right? That's what it's written about him.
Superlative at it.
Do you miss your father?
I don't think I'd be as good, but I think whatever I learned from him was good enough for me to produce some excellent, robust balance sheets in all the companies I ran.
Do you miss him?
Well, who doesn't miss a dad? But, it's now 1983 to 2025 is a long time.
What do you miss about him?
You can't keep missing somebody for 40 years. Life is too short for that.
But do you think he would have been proud of you today?
Well, I would hope so. Certainly not proud of me being called chore or pagoda. And certainly nobody would be proud of that. Certainly no parent. I know my mother gets very agitated even today. She's 98 years old. And every time she sees the Indian media, she's reduced to tears. Obviously, it hurts her more. I'm probably more thick-skinned, more robust, and I just ignore it. But, at that age, my mother doesn't. And it's very unfair what has been written, what has been alleged, because it's complete nonsense.
Let's walk through the case. Let's start from the point of what happened in Kingfisher Airlines. Okay. When did you decide that you want to start a Kingfisher airline?
2002, 2003.
And you just... Okay, so here's the story. Hear me out. What I have gathered from reading about it is One day, out of blue, you go to an AGM or like just a board meeting, I think, not AGM. It was a board meeting where you announced that on my son's birthday, we are going to launch Kingfisher Airlines. Your CFO was not happy about it, but you still pursued and you want to do it. This is what is reported. What was the reality? Tell me the truth.
The truth is, the Damania brothers from Bombay, who previously had Damania Airlines, came and made a presentation to my CFO, Ravi Narungadi, saying the time is ripe to start an airline now.
Okay.
Ravi Narungadi had discussions with them, came to me and said, would you like to look at this proposal? I said, yes. We looked at it, and finally we decided, yes, it is opportune, so let's go for it.
Okay.
That's how the idea of an airline was born.
Mom and Dad, I was thinking to do my UG from Masters Union in Delhi. But I wasn't.
And then you didn't take anyone in confidence. You would just, hey, out of nowhere, I think we are in alcohol business. Now we want an airline business.
No, there's nothing wrong in diversification. The UB group has had a history even during my father's time of operating food processing companies, petrochemical companies, electromechanical companies. So, diversity was nothing new to us.
So your initial plan to launch an airline was 7th May 2005, but you ended up launching on 9th May 2005, right? And
This
then
whole business of launch on son's birthday as a birthday gift and all is complete baloney. All right? I think my son would be embarrassed and I would be equally embarrassed to say I'm starting an airline. All right?
as an 18th birthday gift.
Complete nonsense. All right? But okay. Once again, media narratives are best ignored. A full-blown professional management team was in position before the airline even started, before the first plane arrived. Okay? The CEO and the director of engineering were both hired from the US. Okay? And the airline was launched. There's a lot of narrative about Kingfisher Airlines. There's a lot of narrative about mismanagement. A lot of narrative about the Deccan acquisition. All sorts of things.
Let's pick one by one.
Yeah.
What was the first vision of Kingfisher Airlines when you were starting in 2005?
To produce the best flying experience that India had ever seen.
Make it a premium experience?
Totally a premium experience, number one, in terms of passenger comfort, safety. Number two, to connect places in India that had never ever been connected before. And that it was a really serious part of the growing infrastructural needs of the country.
But I was watching one documentary about you, and I think the person who you got to lead was Alex.
Yeah, Wilcox.
Yeah. So Alex said that you convinced him that you want to build a low-cost carrier, but it was not like that. And in your own words, if you're giving a vision that I want to build a premium experience, why did you get a CEO or like a president, I don't know what was his position, but somebody to lead by telling him that you want to build a low-cost carrier?
That is your own misinformation.
He said it somewhere. I'm just quoting him.
Fair enough. I haven't seen it, but I'll respond. Kingfisher Airlines started off as a single-class airline, low cost, but with a difference. It had in-flight entertainment and it offered meals. Everything else that's applicable to a low-cost airline was applied to Kingfisher as well. commonality of fleet, commonality of training, the whole lot. I mean, there's a whole set of rules. What is a low-cost carrier? What is a full-service carrier? Right? And that even descends down to intricacies such as the type of reservation system, flight planning system you use, and all the rest of it. So Kingfisher had all the low-cost attributes. Okay, the only product plus was in-flight entertainment for the first time ever in India and good food. So to me, the logic from my marketing experience was Indians love entertainment, therefore the in-flight entertainment system, and Indians love food. So good food, right? And then, of course, okay, service quality, whether you're a low cost or a full service, I mean, you'd like a nice, well-trained, polite set of crew. And we spent a lot of time and energy on that. Then, when we saw the market evolve, we added Kingfisher First, which is basically the business class. Why? Because the market demanded that on certain routes, right? There's certain people who would not fly Kingfisher because we didn't have a front cabin or a business class, who would always fly jet. Okay, because jet had a two class, a business class and an economy class, right? And now, just to prove my point, Indigo is often referred to as the most successful low-cost carrier in the world, and certainly the largest low-cost carrier in India. What's Indigo doing now? Installing a business class, right? Yeah? So it's not such a dumb idea. Right?
So it worked in your favor initially.
Yes.
आज AI सॉफ्टवेअर इंजिनियर्सची मदत करतंय, डॉक्टरांची मदत करतंय, लॉयर्सची सुद्धा मदत करतंय. सगळी कामं.
So by 2008, you were the biggest airline in the country, having a 27% market share.
Yes.
Right? What went wrong? If things were right, your marketing was working, you had everything right. In fact, before even you answer that, I want to go to, which is often talked about, is your training of cabin crew. What was the idea behind that? You selected certain people based on how they look or how they're going to be presented.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, you have very good-looking ladies who sadly can't speak very well. Now, what is one of the key attributes of a cabin crew? Communication. I mean, you may look good, but if you can't communicate with the passenger, that doesn't serve the purpose, the kind of service standards that I set for the airline. And my service standards were unique. They included, in business class, the air hostesses cleaning the reading glasses and spectacles of our customers. We call them guests, right? So there were little things that made a vast difference in the customer experience.
Tell me three more things.
This is one.
Okay.
Secondly, the food was second to none, right? I mean, the quality of the seats themselves, the recline and all the rest of it, what they call the seat pitch, just second to none. So there were so many little attributes. We called customers not passengers but guests. Many airlines have copied us since. But there were the little things that made a difference. I was very focused on the service delivery excellence of Kingfisher. You can go further because you don't know this, you can't ask me the question.
Yeah.
So let me tell you.
Yeah.
In the first 1 year, the airport manager at every single airport in India had to send me on my personal mobile and SMS with the flight number, the scheduled time of departure, and the actual departure time. So every night before I went to bed, which was rather late, I used to look at my phone, every single flight of Kingfisher of that day. I used to monitor personally the on-time performance.
You were so detailed focus? You were so...
Because the service industry in the airline industry requires focus, requires detailed focus.
So agreed. Then it worked in your favor till 2008. What happened then?
Simple. You ever heard of Lehman Brothers?
Yeah.
You ever heard of the global financial crisis? Right? Did it not impact India?
Of course it did. The whole aviation sector was...
Forget aviation. Every sector.
Every sector was, yeah.
You
The
saw
money
what
stopped,
did
it got
to
dry.
the value of the Indian rupee. So I went to Shri Pranab Mukherjee, then Finance Minister of India. Having grown up in Calcutta, I speak fairly decent Bengali. And I said, Pranab da, আমার problem আছে Kingfisher Airlines কে downsize করতে হবে, which means I have to downsize this airline. I have to cut the number of aircraft. I have to lay off employees, right? Because I can't afford to operate under these depressed economic circumstances. He said, no. At this time, connectivity is important.
Yeah.
The jobs and employment are important, particularly because, typically in an airline, they're not blue-collar workers. Huh? They're not like workmen.
Yeah.
The boys and girls who work in an airline can't be classified as blue-collar. And he said, I don't want them to lose their jobs. So you continue, banks will support you. That is how it all started. I was told not to downsize Kingfisher at that time. And yes, the banks did support. All right? Now,
What happened then?
Well, you tell me the narrative. I'll tell you the truth. You tell me the narrative.
Then there was a consortium formed of 17 banks, and the loan was given to you via SBI, right? Was that the first, or IDBI was first?
See, this is where people are not aware. I acquired Air Deccan, which everybody says was a big mistake.
Yeah.
Right?
In $137 million or something like that. Everybody says you overpaid for it.
In the world of business, there's something known as consolidation, industry consolidation. There is something known as eliminate the disruptor.
Okay.
Air Deccan was famous for advertising and promoting 1 rupee tickets.
Yeah.
Clearly, you could never ever sustain any airline business selling tickets for 1 rupee. Right? Okay, it was a bait. But that set certain price expectations in the mindset of the customers.
Yeah.
And affected not only Deccan, which was losing money, but the industry as a whole, of which Kingfisher was also a part. Right? So, at that time, we looked at it. Air Deccan was also Bangalore-based. It had the same Airbus aircraft. It had the same trained pilots as Kingfisher. So there was a lot of engineering compatibility. Plus scale and size with the merger of Kingfisher and Deccan. Eliminate the disruptor and consolidate the industry and Kingfisher Airlines. That was the logic of buying Deccan. Not this much touted logic of I was desperate to fly overseas. I needed to get past that 5-year hurdle.
Yeah.
Complete nonsense. Now, why should I shout from the rooftops trying to clarify this? But if you talk to anybody about elimination of a disruptor, and consolidation of industry, it'll start and commonality of equipment, it'll start making business sense.
But if your philosophy was to make a premium airline, why would you buy something which stands for low cost carrier, which stands for something cheap, which stands for 1 rupee ticket? Because the customers would be completely different. The only obvious sense which anybody could make it out from it was, if you are going for a different vision, you are probably going out because the 5-year window which you wanted to bounce, right?
Probably, of course.
Like that was the logic. Like to clarify, to tell people who don't know about it, the logic that people talk about is, if an Indian airline wanted to fly overseas, they should have operated in India for at least 5 years before getting the license to operate air.
Yes. Correct.
And you didn't have that.
Yes.
And that's why you bought Air Deccan, so that you could start flying overseas. And you paid an absurd amount of price for it. That's what people say.
So who are the people that you're quoting?
Everybody, like all the things that I've read, all the media.
Like media, right?
Yeah, like the
legacy media, right?
The legacy media,
Yeah.
the people who are responsible for giving us the information. I mean, that's what, as a citizen, that's where I get my information from.
Correct.
And at least from the ones who I really respect.
I don't think anybody at UB Group was that dumb, with a lack of business understanding, to buy an airline, an operating airline, just to be able to fly overseas. I'm telling you, the logic was consolidation of the industry, given the commonality of equipment. I referred a little earlier to the installation of a front cabin of business class, which we called Kingfisher First, which Indigo are doing even now. There are certain routes in India that demand, right, a front cabin, where there are people who will only fly business class.
Fair.
But the bulk of India, people want a single class product. Deccan fitted that bill fantastically, right? We opened up more routes than had ever been opened before or available for air connectivity. That was one of the biggest contributions we made to the Indian aviation sector and economy, right? Deccan also played a part in that. So, Kingfisher's sad failure subsequently had nothing to do with Deccan.
Okay.
Nothing to do with how much we paid for Deccan. Right?
Got it.
Those were totally separate set of reasons, right?
But
Business reasons.
Here's the question on it. So I get the idea that you wanted to service more routes, you wanted to consolidate. That was a business decision. You saw that, hey, I want to build a premium airline, but there's a bulk of India who cares about the price. And you wanted to contribute to make sure that I want to make sure that India gets to fly anywhere and everywhere through the price point which Air Deccan provides. And if I could be the one to consolidate it and I could be the one to actually eliminate the disruptor, I should do it. Business decision. Brilliant. Do you think then the wrong decision was to rebrand it to Kingfisher Red?
No, because you can't start operating one Deccan and one Kingfisher. So we just called it Kingfisher Red. I mean, rebranding is common in the world. Take Coca-Cola, right? There's Coke, there's Coke Zero, there's Diet Coke. There's all Coke, right? So a multi-brand strategy is no rocket science.
Yeah. But then the philosophy of Air Deccan was low cost. And in Kingfisher Red, so Kingfisher stood for premium, Kingfisher Red stood for low cost.
It was differentiated Kingfisher First and Kingfisher Red.
Okay.
Right? You tell me something. What's the difference between Coke Zero and Diet Coke? Tell me.
Just two names, I don't know.
Yeah, fine. What's the philosophy behind it? You don't know. So how can all these commentators be commenting on Kingfisher First and Kingfisher Red? You know, the trouble in India is that there are too many commentators who don't understand the facts. And of course, the media plays to the gallery. And that's how disinformation gets spread wide.
And then you stated somewhere, again, the commentators I'm quoting, that I want to, if I've put in a name Kingfisher on an airline, no matter even if it's low cost, I want to provide all the services. You started providing all the services, you started providing catering, you started providing everything in a low cost carrier, didn't you?
I began by saying that Kingfisher started off with all the attributes of a low-cost carrier, which is single class, standard fleet, etc., etc., etc. But I said the only differentiator was in-flight entertainment and food. Just because I gave food didn't make it a full-service carrier. I mean, you want, shall I give you examples?
Yeah.
You go on any low-cost carrier here in Europe, all right? Do they starve you or do they feed you?
But you have to pay for it.
No, all of them?
I don't know, few of them, the ones I've flown.
Okay. So there are exceptions.
Okay. But that was the business, like that's what everybody talks about, right?
You know, that's the problem. Lack of information and knowledge, and more importantly, no domain knowledge of the aviation industry leads to all sorts of speculation that makes no sense.
So you tell us that, does it make business sense to provide food and in-flight entertainment in a low-cost carrier where people don't care about it?
Wait. Our belief was Indians love food and love entertainment.
That was for Kingfisher first, but not for Kingfisher Red. Kingfisher Red stands for low-cost
Why?
carrier.
An in-flight entertainment system doesn't cost you money to operate every day.
But still costs you a lot of money, which eventually will bleed your balance sheet.
Really?
I'm asking you.
Well, not in our opinion.
Do you think that was the wrong decision?
What?
Just
To acquire
providing...
Deccan?
Yeah. After acquiring Deccan, giving all the services of a full service carrier in a low-cost carrier.
The full service carrier part of it was very distinct from the so-called low-cost carrier. At the end of the day, however you may refer to these business models, it's all about the price your customers are willing to pay and whether you can fill your planes. Simple.
So
all models are academic and theoretical that really are irrelevant.
But your critiques say that you were competing against other low-cost carriers.
Like
at that time, was it, I think Indigo started at that time.
Oh, okay.
And
That's it.
Spice started at that time.
No.
I think Spice.
Spice was there on and off.
Yeah.
But
so
more off than on.
So you were competing with low-cost carriers with their pricing, but you were providing something extra. And that's why your business model was bleeding more money than them. And you expected that this will turn into loyal customers, but the moment you increase price, people would not fly your flights. Was it true?
That's what the critics say. They are all aviation experts. I have nothing to say.
So where was the problem? Then if this was not the problem, then what happened?
The problem was the government. The problem was fairly and squarely the government. And they've made a lot of political hay out of this. When I used to write to Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, when I used to write to the civil aviation ministers, ministers of finance, the cost of crude, international crude, went to $140 a barrel. The price of aviation turbine fuel in India was directly related to the cost of international crude oil. So you can see that from an average of about $60 a barrel, crude oil went to $140 a barrel, with the resultant and equivalent increase in the price of aviation turbine fuel. The state governments levied an ad valorem sales tax on aviation turbine fuel. So you can yourself now begin to imagine the financial impact on the airline operating, where fuel costs are the single largest component of cost. So I pleaded. I said, look, please give aviation turbine fuel declared good status so that it attracts central sales tax and not this punitive ad valorem state sales tax, right? Because the states are making windfall profits. Anyway, that the government did not do.
Okay.
Aviation is regarded as a capital-intensive industry, right? It's acknowledged as such worldwide, right? They would not permit foreign investment. It was sad that only 6 months after Kingfisher Airlines shut, right, that they permitted Etihad to invest in jet. I had already reached agreement with the CEO of Etihad in Geneva for them to invest in Kingfisher, which government did not permit. So we could not capitalize the airline through a foreign investor either.
Why didn't they allow?
We should ask the government, right? So my point is, the economy, the circumstances, the government policy then existing, all conspired to create a perfect storm through which Kingfisher could not survive. I mean, that's the sad part of it. If you talk about Kingfisher, the concept, and UB Group's diversification into aviation, I'll answer it in one sentence. The two biggest orders for aircraft in the world today are Air India and Indigo, both Indian carriers. The fastest growing aviation market in the world today is India.
If you're 17 or 18 right now, you are sitting on the biggest opportunity of your life, while everyone else.
Now, if you yourself acknowledge that in 2008, Kingfisher was the largest airline with a 27% market share, had events not conspired against us, right? You can imagine where Kingfisher could potentially have been today. But sadly, not all businesses work out. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
While this, like 2008 turmoil happened, and you had your own challenges with Kingfisher, but there were good things in your life which were happening as well. One of them being sports. So you bought IPL team, RCB, Royal Challengers Bangalore. How did that happen? When did this idea come to you? Were you approached? You approached? What was it? Tell me everything about it.
Well, I think I've already explained to you the concept behind building a personality for a brand, about communicating marketing ethos via sporting events, via music events, and various other forms that would be attractive to youngsters. I just acquired Shaw Wallace, and one of the biggest brands that I acquired was Royal Challenge whiskey. And I was thinking of ways and means of now taking Royal Challenge whiskey to the next level, which required a lot of marketing, innovation, thinking. And at the time the IPL was conceived, I was actually sitting on the BCCI committee as a representative of the Karnataka State Cricket Association. And I was very impressed with the pitch that Lalit Modi made to the BCCI committee about this league. And of course, he was working through jumping through the hoops. BCCI was quite bureaucratic at that time. But nevertheless, he called me one day and said, okay, fine, we're ready to go. Teams are going to be auctioned. Are you going to buy? And I thought to myself, I said, wow, in a country where cricket is a religion, what better platform can I have to promote my brands. Then through an IPL franchise, and I got greedy. I wanted one for Kingfisher and one for Royal Challenge, my whiskey brand.
Okay.
He said, no, you cannot possibly have two. You can only have one. Anyway, bidding time came, and I think I was pretty excited about having an IPL team to promote one of my brands. And so I bid for 3 franchises.
Okay.
I lost Mumbai by a very small amount of money, but then that's not surprising that Ambani's got it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I wound up being the highest bidder for 3. And I had to choose one. So I obviously chose Bangalore. And it then was natural that it would be Royal Challengers Bangalore, because the whiskey was Royal Challenge. And that's how RCB was born.
But it was not a business, it was not for the love of cricket, it was more like a business decision that it will help my brands. Or was it both?
This is it. The media narrative will be, well, vanity project. Vijay Mallya loves cricket. He wanted to buy his own team.
Yeah.
Flamboyance. The usual narrative about me. But the sole purpose always was promotion of the Royal Challenge whiskey brand. So it was very much business driven. And that's why it was called Royal Challengers.
But did it help after
Oh,
that?
massively.
The whiskey sales went up?
Massively. Massively. And of course, I mean, quite apart from it doing its job to promote the whiskey brand, the IPL franchise model itself, as explained in great detail by Lalit, and which is true now, is that the revenues, the media revenues are so high, the payment of the franchise fee over 10 years is over. So now there's a significant net profit for every franchisee. It's like a very profitable running independent business. So much so for it being a vanity project.
How much did you buy it for?
I think $112 million is what I bid.
And that time it would be like 600-700 crores or more than that.
Yeah, I think, but Lalit was clever. Everything was denominated in dollars. The bid price was.
Okay.
So I think 112 million, which of course people balked at that time. But, you know, in hindsight, if you look at it and do the math, it was a top class investment. I mean, look at what the teams are worth today.
Yeah.
I mean, they're worth $1 billion.
You know, one thing which was exciting in your pitch, in your bid for RCB, was Virat Kohli.
I picked Virat.
Under 19, you bid for him. Yeah. And you, if I'm not wrong, you got it for like 20 lakhs something.
Correct.
Why did you pick Virat at such a young age?
Well, you know, obviously there were the young cricketers, and it was draw by lots, right? And finally I got lucky, so I got to pick, and I immediately went for Virat. You know, I mean, I looked just, I think, shortly before the actual selection process, they were playing the Under-19 World Cup, and I was very impressed. And so I picked him, and, you know, it's wonderful. 18 years later, he's still there.
So with just his performance, or were you able to see something?
Yeah, he was a young kid at that time when I got him, but, you know, full of energy, great talent, and, you know, one of the greatest Indian cricketers ever.
If you had a choice to pick 2 or 3 players from other teams for RCB today, who would you pick?
If dreams could come true, Jasprit Bumrah.
Yeah.
If dreams could come true, Surya Kumar Yadav, Rishabh Pant, and KL Rahul. If I had these 4, I wouldn't need anybody else, and would definitely win the trophy.
And do you think this year, even when you don't have these 4, you would
The RCB
win
lineup,
the trophy this year?
The RCB lineup is pretty balanced. top class batting lineup, a much improved bowling lineup. I haven't seen Bhuvneshwar Kumar play in RCB colours yet, but he's a top class bowler. But as a unit, I can say it's a pretty balanced unit, and now it all depends on on-field performance.
This year the captain, Rajat, he's from my city. He's from my neighborhood.
Oh.
like he was literally like 2 houses away from my house, Rajat Patidar. So this year, even though I support Mumbai, but this year I'm still voting for RCB.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, let Rajat win the trophy. Okay, but it occurs to me that RCB never winning the cup has actually worked in the RCB favor. Do you think so?
In what way?
In cult following.
No.
Even though you guys have, the RCB has never won.
You see, that is because the day RCB was conceived. We have had a comprehensive program of fan engagement.
Okay.
Right? We've had the IPL window is 2 months. But we have had activation programs stretching over all 12 months to keep the RCB fans engaged. So it is once again a clear-cut marketing strategy and fan engagement strategy, which has worked. That's why we have such extreme loyalty that win or lose, the chant of RCB is always there.
Give me an example of the marketing trick here.
There's so many. I mean, you watch the activations of RCB. Longevity, right? You remember Ooh la 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 le le oh?
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah. Ooh la 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 le. Yeah.
When was this conceived? You don't know. Well, let me tell you. 1996 World Cup of cricket. The Kingfisher West Indies cricket team. Now, back in 1996, I put the Kingfisher logo on the West Indies, not Indian, cricket team. Okay? And because why? The personalities of the West Indian cricketers. Fun, dancing, music, their entire swagger. That suited the Kingfisher brand. That was when the jingle was conceived, which lives on till today, in 2025.
Yeah. Wow. It was conceived before I was born. And I still remember it. So you have been king of marketing. You have done so many marketing gigs, right? Was the Formula One also a marketing stint for Kingfisher?
See, I told you earlier that I've always had racing in my blood. I've always loved racing cars. I was then involved with the motorsports clubs in India. I was chairman of the Federation of Motorsports Clubs of India for many years. And the job of the Federation was basically to promote motorsports in India. Now, for anybody who's into motor racing, the absolute pinnacle of motorsport in the world is Formula One. Right? Now, what is Formula One all around? The image of Formula One, big box, glamour, seriously competitive racing divided by hundredths of a second, full of excitement, etc., etc., etc. All the attributes I have employed in different ways for my brands. And plus being a motor racing enthusiast, right? It was a dream to have a team on the F1 grid. So when the opportunity presented itself, I did it. Right? I did it. Now, I named it Force India. I could have easily named it Mallya Formula One, like Williams Formula One, for instance. Right?
Why did you keep Force One?
Because I wanted the Indian flag to be on the grid. I wanted the world to know that the team with roots in India of all countries was at the pinnacle of motorsport. And that is why I called it Force India. and I had the tricolor on the car. Of course, I also used the platform to advertise my brands.
Yeah.
Okay, including Royal Challenge, whiskey, White and Mackay, which we owned at that time, Kingfisher, then the airline. So the car, the livery of the car and all the merchandise around Formula One had a lot of our brands on it for promotional purposes. But the core reason was to put an Indian Formula One team on the grid.
But you invested quite a lot of money on it, right?
Sure I did. I mean, Formula One's not cheap.
Do you think that was a bad decision?
No, in hindsight, I wouldn't do anything different.
Why not?
Why not?
Because you had to sell it, right? And I think a lot of accusations are for the same brand.
Whose accusations about what?
That you use Kingfisher money for Formula One and nobody talks about it.
Nobody talks about that.
Have you spoken about it before and still people don't?
Never. Why should I? As I told you, I don't want to waste my time correcting the barrage of narratives coming from legacy media.
But then you sold Force One.
Yes, Force One became Racing Point.
Yes,
And
you
Racing
sold it to
Point
Lawrence
now
Stroll, right?
is Aston Martin Formula One.
Yeah. Why did you sell it to Lawrence?
लाजवाब स्काई ने पकड़ी अपनी लाइफ की सबसे एपिक फ्लाइट.
You said India was media
Under the
like
said, I want to collect these and restore.
talking about another marketing stint because there was cricket, there was talking about another marketing.
A motor racing enthusiast, right? It was a dream to have a team on the F1 grid. So when the opportunity presented itself, I did it. Right? I did it. Now, I named it Force India. I could have easily named it Mallya Formula One, like Williams Formula One, for instance, right?
Why did you keep Force One?
Because I wanted the Indian flag to be on the grid. I wanted the world to know that the team with roots in India, of all countries, was at the pinnacle of motorsport. And that is why I called it Force India. And I had the tricolor on the car. Of course, I also used the platform to advertise my brands.
Yeah.
Okay, including Royal Challenge, whiskey, White and Mackay, which we owned at that time, Kingfisher, then the airline. So the car, the livery of the car and all the merchandise around Formula One had a lot of our brands on it for promotional purposes. But the core reason was to put an Indian Formula One team on the grid.
But you invested quite a lot of money on it, right?
Sure I did. I mean, Formula One's not cheap.
Do you think that was a bad decision?
No, in hindsight, I wouldn't do anything different.
Why not?
Why not?
Because you had to sell it, right? And I think a lot of accusations are for the same brand.
Whose accusations about what?
That you use Kingfisher money for Formula One and nobody talks about it.
Nobody talks about that.
Have you spoken about it before and still people don't?
Never. Why should I? As I told you, I don't want to waste my time correcting the barrage of narratives coming from legacy media.
But then you sold Force One.
Yes, Force One became Racing Point.
Yes,
And
you
Racing
sold it to
Point
Lawrence
now
Stroll, right?
is Aston Martin Formula One.
Yeah. Why did you sell it to Lawrence?
I had to at that time because of my worldwide freezing orders and the troubles that Sahara was going through and so on and so forth. So, at the end of the day, I would have definitely kept it, but it was not to be. So fine, you move on in life. But I had 10 years of the Indian flag on the Formula One grid.
Talking about another marketing stint because there was cricket, there was Formula One, there was Kingfisher calendar. It was so highly talked about. What was the story behind Kingfisher calendar?
Atul Kazbekar came to me and said, fine, there's a Pirelli calendar. Atul Kazbekar came to me and said, fine, there's a Pirelli calendar. Why can't we create a similar property for Kingfisher? Absolutely. And so we said, fine, we'll have the Kingfisher swimsuit calendar. We couldn't go sort of kind of all the way that Pirelli might have been able to, given the social considerations in India and so on and so forth. But I think we produced a product that everybody demanded. I mean, even today, I get SMSs from people, where's my calendar? So it was highly sought after. And once again, we had events around it. We had the national hunt for the Kingfisher girl. That was national. So we broad-based it. And we chose models through a national hunt. And then, of course, we'd have events around the calendar, shooting the calendar, and then launching the calendar, all of which was consistent with the brand positioning and marketing strategy of Kingfisher.
Serious dictation was driving me crazy, so I switched to whisper flow. Here's why I'll never go.
And why do you think that girls who became or who landed on the calendar, their careers skyrocketed?
Well, because we chose the right girls. I mean, whether it was Deepika Padukone, whether it was Katrina Kaif, whether it was Deepika Padukone, whether it was Katrina Kaif. We had all the heroines and the stars on the calendar in their younger days.
But they were not stars back then.
No,
they
were
became
not,
after.
We picked well. We picked the right talent.
Did you also help them after the calendar, or it was just the engagement was
They
only till then?
came with the calendar, and that was it. I did it because it was a fantastic marketing tool. It didn't bring anything to me personally, but it did wonders for the brand. The same thing with the McDowell marketing campaigns, right? Okay. Talking about fast cars, I've always been passionate about cars. Right? And I have owned good cars, but not a fleet of them. In India, I had a couple of Mercedes cars, one Rolls-Royce and one Maybach. That was it. That was all I possessed.
But you have one of the largest car collections of vintage cars and stuff,
Now
right?
we're talking about vintage cars, which is a totally different ballgame. Because of our nationwide presence on the ground, I told my people, look for vintage cars because they were hugely neglected. Many, many cars went to India in the 20s and 30s. The Maharajas in India were probably the biggest customers for famous cars such as Rolls-Royce. But these cars were in a state of ruin. Given my inherent interest in cars, I said I want to collect these and restore them, which I did. I mean, in those days, I have bought a Rolls-Royce for 50,000 rupees with a tree growing through it in somebody's backyard, deep in Telangana. I have bought cars that have been rusted, parts missing, etc., etc., etc. All of which I lovingly restored over a period of time. That is my passion for cars. And those cars still exist. Of course, you can't export them.